News
Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
I'm Bill Walter, KVNU News. News is brought to you by Cardall's Insulation. Utah Governor Spencer Cox has issued an order for the flags of the U.S. and the state of Utah to be flown at half-staff on all state facilities in recognition of the passing of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. On Sunday afternoon, the governor ordered flags to be lowered to the half-staff position immediately and remain in the half-staff position until sunset on January 28, 2025. The governor also extended an invitation to all citizens, businesses, and organizations to participate in recognition. Meanwhile, the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints issued a statement on the passing of Carter, expressing their sympathy to the former president's family and honoring his legacy of service to the country. More details are coming out about why one Utah lawmaker decided to resign, even though she just barely won her re-election race. Representative Kira Birkeland said her mother's declining health is the biggest reason for her decision. She is also addressing a report claiming she failed to disclose that she received a new out-of-state job to the Utah legislature. Representative Birkeland said she is going to transfer her bills to other lawmakers and that the party will have to find her possible replacement. However, her critics said she really didn't give the party a lot of time to do that. Birkeland does not want to disclose her mother's illness out of respect for her privacy. However, she said she learned of her mother's diagnosis in April and over the summer could see her mother's health getting worse. She said she knew her mother's health would be a major distraction, taking away a lot of her attention if she were to reclaim District 4's seat in the House. Still, she was not expecting to resign while she was running for re-election. And a mission president for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in France passed away Saturday. Church spokesman Sam Penrod said that President James Michael Solier, who is serving in the France-Lyon mission, died in his sleep Saturday. His death was unexpected and a cause has yet to be determined. Solier had reportedly been feeling sick for a few days before passing away. The 54-year-old started his service in France in June. He and his wife Jennifer were from Salt Lake City. And KVNU weather brought to you by Dr. Keith Nelson, board-certified orthopedic surgeon experienced in successful surgeries for sports medicine and arthritis. For arthritis, Dr. Nelson offers the Omnibotic knee replacement system with a 97% patient satisfaction rate. Go to drkeithnelsonortho.com. That's drkeithnelsonortho.com. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies, cold overnight, down around 16, mostly sunny, a cold day tomorrow, around 30. And then on New Year's Day, 50% chance of snow, mainly after 11 a.m., 50% chance of snow Wednesday night, and then 50% chance of rain and snow on Thursday. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
As the weather outside turns frightful, it's time to think about making the inside of your home delightful. Wrap your home in warmth this winter with Cardall's Insulation. Their insulation doesn't just keep the cold out, it keeps the warm in. Today's insulation will make your home quieter and can dramatically cut down on your energy bill. Whether it's an attic, garage, or your entire home in need of insulation, Cardall's Insulation is who you should call. 755-5012. There's still a tax credit up to $1,200 you can take advantage of. Call 755-5012.
Where you find out. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
It's Fisher Home Furnishings year-end liquidation. The last week of the year, Fisher's marks down and clears out all overstocks, one-of-a-kinds, unclaimed layaways, closeouts, late Christmas arrivals, and discontinued items. Take another 20 to 40% off the lowest mark sale price. Bassett, La-Z-Boy, Flex Steel, Serta, Bernhardt, Lexington, all the best brand names at the year's biggest discounts. 20 to 40% off the sale price. Fisher Home Furnishings year-end liquidation sale. No interest financing. Sorry, no layaways at these prices. Shop in-store or anytime at FisherHF.com.
Oh boy, winter is here, and so is the snow. Quickly remove snow from your driveway, sidewalks, and parking lot by calling Ed at Edson Builders, 435-232-2680. Fast, reliable snow removal services for any property, any size. And they do it with the same attention to detail as they do with building homes and businesses. They can also add salt to keep everything safe and slip-free. Call 435-232-2680 and take the stress out of winter. Edson Builders and snow removal, 435-232-2680.
This Christmas, unwrap adventure and year-end savings at West Motor Company. Take up to $12,000 off select Ram heavy duties and up to $11,000 off Ram 1500 or Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Family focused? Save up to $8,500 on Chrysler Pacifica or $3,000 on a new Dodge Durango. It's the year-end clearance. Visit West Motor Company in Preston or shop online from the comfort of your home. West Motor Company, bringing adventure and savings to your holidays. Merry Christmas.
It's Cody from Industrial Tool and Supply. Usually, I'm here talking about our Makita deals, but in the holiday rush, I often forget to express my gratitude to you. Thanks for backing me, my team, and our local business for 35 years. As a second-generation owner, your support means the world to me. Thanks for letting us assist you, your family, and your business with Makita products and more. We appreciate your trust in us to get the job done. From the bottom of our hearts, Industrial Tool and Supply and Makita extend a heartfelt thank you.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
25 NCAA championships, 18 conference championships.
And the Aggies are going dancing.
10 tournament championships.
The Aggies are pulling out the scissors, and they're going to cut down the nest.
Our winning culture continues. Our Utah State Aggies play here on the Aggie Sports Network.
Pre-game begins 1 hour before tip-off. Don't miss game day on your home of the Aggies. News Talk KVNU. KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Monday, December 30th. I'm Jason Williams. We have 2 shows, then a break, and then 2 more shows this week. We will be off Wednesday for New Year's, but I will wrap up the year tomorrow with some highlights, some of my favorite interviews, some movie show highlights, and more on New Year's Eve show tomorrow night. And then we'll see you on Thursday. But I'm really excited about this week because I get to do lists. I would do lists all year long, and people would get annoyed, and they'd ask me to stop. But this is the week where I can get away with this. We're going to be doing lists, recaps, best ofs, everything today and tomorrow. But kicking the show off here right now with a very special guest joining us here in the studio. And I have to be honest, it's kind of awkward because for just a few months shy of 16 years, Bill Walter and I sat in the studio with he at the controls and me at the microphone and me giving him a headache, causing him stress, all of that stuff. And here today on the show, the roles are completely reversed. And I forgot to turn his mic on. Like he used to do to me. I silenced him.
And I guess I can cause you stress somehow. I don't know how. You're pretty tough to stress.
Yeah. Well, here at least. In the day job, not so much. But I asked Bill to come in because kind of a big announcement here at the radio station. It's been a year of changes. We've had the studios completely ripped down and rebuilt starting in November of 2023 and kind of wrapping up November of 2024. There's still some stuff to be done, and the upgrades aren't complete. We're going to be undergoing some software upgrades this year as well. The hardware upgrades are now in place and have been so long enough. I can see a little dust here on the new board. But also with Al Lewis retiring, that opened up a spot on the morning show, and Bill stepped over there to fill in and help out and keep an eye on Craig Hislop, which is, in and of itself. Did you get hazard pay for that?
I probably should have.
You should have. Should have asked for that, working with Craig every morning, keeping an eye on him. But so starting early summer, Bill went to mornings, and then during the summer, Bill told us all that he was going to be partially retiring at the end of the year to open up some time for he and his wife to go do some things that they have always wanted to do. And so Bill will be stepping back from the airwaves for the most part here on
it's a semi-retirement. Has nothing to do with driving a big truck.
That's right. Yeah, he's not leaving radio to go
drive a semi
over the road hauler or anything like that yet. But
I might end up. You never know.
I can actually see you liking that. Your wife maybe not so much, but I can see you liking the long haul.
Playing some Jerry Reed there on a cassette tape, eastbound and down.
Oh yeah, and getting to see parts of the country at 3 a.m. and this is. I asked Bill to come in because with him going into partial retirement, it means he'll be stepping back from. You'll hear less of him here on KVNU and in our news breaks. You're still going to hear him in production, commercials. You'll still hear him if you're a fan of the country music on Kix 96. He's not hanging up the Wild Bill hat, so you'll still hear him there. But he to free up some time for he and his wife to do some things, he will be spending a bit less time here at the station. And so I asked Bill to come in because, Bill, you've been doing this. Well, the real reason I wanted you to come in is I want to see if I can get you to reveal the story behind Craig Hislop's tattoo.
Boy, I've heard so many rumors, but some of them are based on half truth. So
yeah, that's
having to do with a parlor somewhere in Reno, Nevada, tattoo parlor there.
I think so. It's a marketing.
But I just won't go there.
No, I say that in the hopes that Craig Hislop is listening. Or if he isn't, we'll hear the podcast.
He might be listening to the competition.
And as far as I know,
to do that.
Yeah, he's a fan
afternoons.
He's a fan of the Fan. He's a sports guy.
Our sister station, not truly our competition.
No, but, and I forgive him for that. But no,
or our brother station, I guess. I don't know.
And as far as I know, Craig doesn't actually have a tattoo. But it was fun to say that on the radio. So spreading rumors. But no, Bill, I asked you to come in because, one, like I said, you and I sat in here, roles reversed, you at the controls, me at the microphone for, just a few months short of 16 years.
Looking out the window, where is Jason?
Those days when we would start at 4:10, 4:11, and I'd show up at 4:09. Bill would be sweating. I was
just crawling around an attic for my day job. I just got out, so I'm on my way.
The days when I would pack the studio with 17 guitars and musicians and
that's always a fun time.
That's a fun annual show we do. But so I asked Bill to come in because the nostalgia of having him back in the studio after he went to mornings early summer, but also Bill, you've been doing this. You've been involved in radio, news, broadcasting. Production, all of this for how many years now?
Well, the better part of I can't even. It's such a large number I can't remember exactly, but for the better part of 48 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So just a couple of years short of Al Lewis.
Not all here in Cache Valley, of course, but.
Sure.
I moved here when I was 19 from Western Colorado, but that's where I started in radio, was in Western Colorado.
And a lot of people don't know this, but you actually, through your dad, right, had exposure to news and broadcasting previous to being an adult.
Yeah, my dad was a broadcaster. He did radio and television, small market stations, and he did it.
Out there where the corn grows?
Yeah. And he did it until, he retired from television when he was 66. And then they moved from Durango, Colorado, where he managed the small-town TV station there.
Oh, wow.
To Arizona, and even in his retirement, he got a part-time job at the radio station there in Green Valley, Arizona. Played kind of nostalgia music. I don't know if that station exists anymore. It may have gotten, gobbled up by the larger Tucson market, which was, 20 miles away.
Sure.
But so he did that for a little bit and stayed active. And so I'm the only one of the 6 kids that followed his career path.
And that's, to me, that's always been unique to be able to talk to you about that stuff. We joke that you remember in fact, before the show started, we talked about this again. You remember the original AP wire, the actual where the loud. We've still got
behind Walter Cronkite.
That's right. We've still got the antique wire machine in the lobby here.
It's kind of nice to see that. And
if you've never seen one, come down to the Cache Valley Media Group lobby. There's one there.
I was working KVNU the night. It was weird because it was a strange night. When was it? December 8th or December 9th? I had finished. I'd done my last final up at Utah State for fall quarter.
Oh,
they had the quarter system back then.
That's right.
4 semesters, and
now I'm old enough to remember that.
And I was working the evening shift on KBNU. We still played music, and we played top 40 music at night. And I was just thinking, oh man, I've got this whole long shift to go, and so I checked the wire in back, and you heard, if it's a bulletin, you hear the ding 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 ding, or you used to. And the reports that John Lennon had been shot in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And so I passed that news along, and then news came out continuing as the reports kept coming out. Within about an hour, it's reported that he was dead.
Yeah.
That was like earth-shaking news. And so I think we went with network coverage a little bit. From ABC, and
wow.
I played, like a lot of stations, all of a sudden you just play tribute songs. You play, John Lennon songs or Beatles songs or something. So I did some of that.
That's a historic moment to have been broadcasting in the midst of, and it's sort of that's one of my favorite things when talking about radio is it spans all of these historical events, and then you can discuss what was it like when that actually came out. In fact, you and I spoke. I happened to be in Washington, D.C. the day they announced that Osama bin Laden had been killed, and there was this impromptu rally at the White House. Entire population of D.C. residents and tourists alike.
It was
all
a Sunday,
down to the mall at midnight.
It was like the time of the week, the time of day where you do not expect any breaking news.
No, I was
Sunday night. You don't expect unless there's a major earthquake happening. That can happen anytime. But usually you don't expect breaking news Sunday night, and that came across, and they had said that President Obama was going to address the nation on a late Sunday night, like at 8 p.m. our time or 9 p.m.
And it has to be serious when you hear that, right?
Yeah, and you happen to be back there.
Yeah,
and so I think I don't know if I can't remember if we went on live or if I recorded.
I think
some things for you.
I think I called
that Jenny was able to use on the news the next morning.
Yeah, I was getting texts as I was flying home the next day. I was getting texts from friends and family. I heard you on the radio this morning. No, it's just radio. I mean, obviously, radio has a history that predates all of us, everyone here, even Al Lewis. But there are these historical events that all of you guys who have been doing this for a long time were there, got to cover, and then, of course, covering the news, reporting on the news has changed in a lot of ways, too. And we'll talk about that. Bill Walter is my guest here to start the show today. Bill transitioned to mornings here on KVNU early summer of this year to fill Al Lewis's shoes. And previous to that, he and I sat here in the studio, again, just a few months short of 16 years for me, longer for Bill. He was at the controls, I was at the microphone, and now here we are today, roles reversed. And Bill will be entering kind of a partial retirement after tomorrow. And so you'll still hear him on our stations in production for him and on Kicks 96, but you won't hear him in the news or on the morning show as he frees up some time for he and his wife to do more things that they've always wanted to do.
I just got to test this cough button here. Let's
see. It works.
Hey, all right, good. I'm so glad we got things like this.
The one thing I begged for when they came around and said, "What do you have a request for the new studios when we rebuild them?"
And even Craig has been using it sometimes.
I said I want, and believe it or not, they hadn't planned on them. And I said I want cough buttons on the microphones because I am allergic to air.
I think you pounded your fist on the. No, you didn't.
But. I said I will refuse to sit in that new studio. I'll spill drinks. And so they gave in. All right, we'll be back with more of Mr. Bill Walter, our guest here in the studio this hour, right after this.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Morris Columbus Travel and Delta Vacations have partnered to give you the best sun and fun deals on the planet. Experience the local attractions of Mexico or just soak up the sun by the pool. After all, sometimes the best vacation is having nothing to do and all day to do it. Give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
Technology can make our lives more fun, convenient, and connect us with friends. But when tech is used for cyberbullying, children's lives can be damaged. Peter and Amanda Como found good communication protects their kids.
I believe that using JW.org was beneficial in preparing me to talk to my children about pitfalls that maybe I wasn't even aware of. Anything that me, as somebody who doesn't typically use too much social media, it was very beneficial to prepare me as a parent, not only to know what my children are facing, but how to address it with them specifically.
One of those resources is the animated video, Beat a Bully Without Using Your Fist. Their 14-year-old daughter picked up tips to help if she was bullied.
What's helped me is to just let it go, or if it's bothering you that much, talk to your parents about it, or an adult. Even though it may be embarrassing or hard to talk about, if you're being bullied, you need to speak up.
To find more tips and tools to protect your child from cyberbullying, look to stopbullying.gov or search bullying on jw.org.
KVN News for the people. It's a really rare opportunity for me. I get a chance to interview Bill Walter. Bill sat here in the studio with me for just a few months short of 16 years.
I never interviewed you, though.
No, and we'll have to. We'll do that one time before you officially, if you ever do officially fully retire. We'll do a thing where you can interview me and ask me. But see, I don't have the history that's always what's fascinated me about you, Al, Jenny, when she was with us, both here at the station and in life. And I begged, remember that? You witnessed that. I begged Jenny for, I think, a few years. I begged her to come in, and all I wanted to talk to her about is how reporting the news had changed in all the time she'd been doing it. And all she would ever say to me, she'd roll her eyes and look at me almost with this look of disgust on her face, and she would say, "The journalist is never the story," which I admire.
Yeah.
But I still wanted her to come in and just talk about, because she had done it through so many different eras of technology. But so have you, right? You've we talked there about you remembering the original AP Wire, and now you're
turntables.
Oh yeah, Jenny editing news on cassette tape, which she could still do and had the patience for, but. Mini discs, things that have now gone.
We went from cartridge tape to mini discs for her news cuts, and which every bit of technology comes with a learning curve, but it's an improvement. Generally an improvement in sound.
Yeah.
How we do things.
And then every new version of technology that we work with has its own shortcomings or points of unreliability. We're all digital now, officially, after this upgrade to the studio, and that can be a problem. My biggest problem is I forget where I save stuff. I know I recorded it.
But I'll tell you a story.
Where did I put it?
Like Jenny would, when I would fill in on occasion in the mornings, Jenny had her crosstalk show, which, started around.
It was a call-in show.
Yeah, 9:10 to 9:15 in the morning. Went for, 20, 25 minutes. But Jenny would come in with her guest at, a little after, right after the 9:05 news. And the first thing she'd do is hand me her cassette, which I would, put in the cassette recorder so I could record the interview for her. And then she would sit down and talk to all sorts of, big names that, that were coming through Cache Valley.
Congressman Bishop was a regular on Crosstalk. I remember that. Rob Bishop would show up all the time. And I
was trying to think who else was a frequent guest.
Tammy Pfeiffer, I remember, was frequent guest when she was on the Logan City Council.
Somebody from USU in the political science department.
Was it Tony Peacock?
No,
he was a regular on our show.
Yeah, more for the people. I can't remember it. He had a very distinguished voice.
Yeah, it was Mike something. I can't remember his last name now. Yeah, he was a regular. That was, and it's been interesting to me as well for you, being involved with For the People all these years, but also reporting on the news. You're an apolitical person. It's not something that interests you, but you are a sports fan. But
I could never keep up with those guys across the hallway there, down the hall.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Have you ever been tempted? Were there times ever through the years where you wanted to do a full sports show? I know
John Newbold twisted my arm and asked me to come in and just sit in and talk sports. I tried. Those guys are so good, and they're so knowledgeable, and they're so quick that eventually, I tried to say a few words, and then eventually I just kind of pushed the microphone away and just kind of sat there and just watched them. And I'm like, there's a reason I don't do sports talk. I don't speak the lingo, and I don't have the knowledge that they have.
I'm fascinated
of different things.
Sometimes.
That being said, I like watching sports.
Yeah. That's
like watching certain games. I'm not, like an NFL junkie where I just, you got Tampa Bay playing the Houston Texans. Oh, I got to watch that. No, it's certain teams I follow. If it's a team that that I'm interested in, I'll watch that.
Cornhuskers.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Right. Do you have any favorites over the years? I know this is multiple decades we're talking here, but are there certain eras or times that were your absolute favorite time to be making news and covering news, or even just involved with radio in general? I know that the 90s were Rush Limbaugh kind of, so talk radio in the 90s was in a big uptick of popularity, with Limbaugh kind of showing, okay, here's this thing you can do that everybody told him he couldn't do, and then he was really good at it. And
yeah, I think there were certain programming eras of KVNU that I enjoyed working at the station. We were still in the old location over on 200 West behind, what is now Winco. But I would work the afternoon shift there, and I did an oldie show from 1 to 2, so that was fun to do. And then just, we had news at the top and bottom, news at the top of the hour. I can't remember if we had it at the bottom of the hour then, but did local news throughout the day, played music, just had, chit chat, that sort of thing. And then at around 5 o'clock, we'd kind of go into a news block. and did that. And then it was all news and played Al Sports and everything. So that was an enjoyable time because it was a mix. I got to play some music, but also read the news and that sort of thing, and do an oldie show early in the afternoon.
And then you did prior to For the People, before Tom Grover pitched the idea of For the People that summer. What was that, 2006?
Something like that.
I think so.
06, I think.
Because I started in 2008, and I think it was about 2 years old then. But I know you did a full-on afternoon news show.
Yeah, we had the morning news, and then I did a 2-hour afternoon news. I worked with Heather Bailey. That was a delight.
Oh, yeah.
And then she got yanked away from me to do mornings because Becky, who had been doing mornings with Al, moved away. So they grabbed Heather and put her in there, and then it was Eric and I did it for a time up until the point where I think we had For the People.
Yeah, I remember a few months of you and Eric where you'd alternate news stories.
Yeah,
and
that went pretty good. So
and then Eric kind of got pulled away more and more by Full Court Press and management.
Yeah, kind of gravitated more towards sports. And
it's really to think of all the different ways it's changed, and then even this show For the People, it's been, really 3 or 4 different types of shows over the years I've been here. Sometimes out of necessity, other times out of just something doesn't work anymore, and so you try something else, and it's constantly evolving and changing.
Well, do you remember
it's live?
How For the People started? It was originally because we didn't have a sports station at the time like we do now. So Full Court Press was started on KVNU, and it was in the 6 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
But after about March or April, if the Jazz made a little bit of run in the playoffs, it stayed on until
kind of dried up.
Yeah,
right?
until when the Jazz were done, Full Court Press went on hiatus for the summer, and then Tom got a job here, Tom Grover, and he wanted to do a talk show.
Yeah,
and so he pitched the idea of filling in when Full Court Press went on its summer hiatus. He went on the air. He and Ryan and started For the People for an hour between 6 and 7 originally, and
that's right.
In probably late April or early May, I think.
Just as a summer filler.
Yeah.
And then
but from that when I first heard those guys on, I just said this, I thought, these guys are onto something here. I think this is going to prove good.
The fun thing about For the People, and not a lot of stations do this anymore, but it is this local. There's very few stations where you have this 2-hour block in the afternoon where you can talk about these things that are happening on the local level. We do a lot of state stuff, but we can spend time on Cache Valley stories. We can talk about things that people are actually involved in here locally, and most stations have moved away from that, and I think it's a mistake on their part. I think that the morning shows I think will always be around, but I think there's a spot for that afternoon drive. Obviously For the People has been successful, but that afternoon drive time and mixing news in with just, I've even got a story coming up about a cat rescue in one of these. Where can you talk about that stuff anywhere else? And it happened in Nibley. And it's a cool story, but
does it involve a firefighter?
It does.
Climbing a ladder?
It's like that stereotypical cat rescue story, and we're going to be talking about later on. So
Fluffy's up in the tree. I can't get her down.
Please,
could you boys come and help me?
I do have a request though before you move on with your day, because I know you still have some stuff to do here, and you'd probably like to get home eventually. You've been here since 5 a.m. Will you at least experiment? Especially we're going to have a little more time. Will you at least experiment with calling in using a fake name and stirring up some trouble once in a while on the show? We'll call you. We won't tell everybody right now who you're going to be, but no. I'm going to see if I can talk Bill into doing like a monthly music segment or something like that, where he just reviews what are these kids listening to these days.
Do you? I've got to talk about Craig again.
That's fair. Source of stress for you for a few months.
We had this person that called in that pretended to be a nice little old lady that lived out in the valley somewhere. Not in Logan, but somewhere in the valley. And she would call into Aggie Call after the games. And I thought for sure at the time that it was Craig doing a voice,
I remember
doing
that.
an impersonation.
We all did.
It was, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't anybody that worked here, but it was somebody who was doing a nice impersonation of this little old lady.
Craig of that.
Who would occasionally call in on Aggie Call and just say the boys did really good up there at the stadium today and would just
I think most
the sense of humor seemed like a Hislop sense of humor to me, but it wasn't Craig.
No, they found out later who that was, didn't they? Isn't that how we decided it wasn't Craig?
I thought for sure it was at the time.
He would still do it. Bill, thanks for humoring me with this. I know that it's a pain for you to stick around this late in the afternoon where you start so early, but it's been fun to work with you all these years here in the studio.
Oh, yeah, likewise.
And you're definitely going to be missed on this side of things. I'm glad you're still going to be around. And like I say, everyone, you'll still hear Bill in the production commercials. You'll hear him on Kicks 96 still. But Bill Walter, man of mystery, the legend here at KVNU, stepping back a bit from radio after decades in the industry.
Yeah, I need to get some shades. If you man of mystery, I need to wear some shades.
That's what we'll start calling you here every time we reference you. Bill Walter, man of mystery. But thanks for coming in to do this.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
And I'm this is bittersweet because I only have a couple of more days that I get to do this. But I'm going to make the most of it. It's funny what you take for granted. Now all of a sudden this is a very cool thing for me to get to do. A couple more days of me getting to say, and now a look at the local headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News is brought to you by Dr. Keith Nelson. Wyoming will sell a 1 square mile parcel of pristine state-owned land bordering Grand Teton National Park to the U.S. government for $100 million. Governor Mark Gordon signed off on a deal Friday that will end the state's long-standing threats to unload the property to a developer. Under the agreement, the federal government will pay the appraised value of $62.5 million for the land. Privately raised funds will supply the rest. Wyoming has owned the land since statehood, but has brought in little revenue from it. That prompted the state to threaten to sell it to a developer if the U.S. government would not buy it. L.J. Martin rushed for 93 yards and 2 TDs. Jake Retzlaff passed for 151 yards, and number 17 BYU beat 20th-ranked Colorado 36-14 in the Alamo Bowl over the weekend. BYU scored in every quarter, enrolling to a second straight bowl victory and third in its past 4 appearances after failing to advance last season. Colorado was held to 210 total yards with only 2 net yards rushing. And then early Saturday evening, Tucker Anderson made a 3-point shot from the right wing with 6.8 seconds left, and Utah State stunned number 20 San Diego State 67-66 after rallying from an 18-point deficit at San Diego State. Wayne McKinney III from the Aztecs missed a 3-pointer with a few seconds left, and the Aggies reserves rushed to the other end of the court to swarm Anderson. Here's what the coach Jared Calhoun had to say to Scott Gerard on Learfield after the game.
I'm just glad I didn't screw it up, Scotty. I was inches away from calling a timeout. So happy I didn't. I thought nobody panicked, found the open guy, and sometimes in those crazy moments like that, you just let it play out, right? Yeah. And our Our guys never wavered. I don't know what the difference was in calls in the first half, but it was very, very frustrating. And give San Diego State and Coach Dutch a lot of credit. Obviously, one of the premier teams in the country. They bring a physicality in obviously a hostile environment. But I told our guys in there, I'll go to battle with them any given night. We got a bunch of tough kids. They really buy into we over me, and hopefully this just continues to show them how good we can really be.
Ian Martinez scored 17 points, Mason Faltzlev 16, and Anderson 14 for Utah State. They wrap up their road tour at Nevada Tuesday night. Tip-off from Reno, 8 o'clock. Aggie game day begins at 7 tomorrow night here on KVNU. And the Light the World giving machines are still in Cache Valley till January 1st, just off Center Street, just east of Great Harvest there in the parking lot. And you can buy a chicken or a goat for a family across the globe, or buy warm winter clothing or help feed a local family. 100% of every donation goes to its intended charity, and items can also be purchased for local charities, including Cache Employment and Training Center, Cache Valley for Hope, Common Ground, English Language Center, and neighborhood nonprofit housing. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low 16, and then mostly sunny but cold tomorrow, high only around 30. A chance of snow on New Year's Day on Wednesday. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. More plans are being set after yesterday's death of former President Jimmy Carter. The state funeral is January 9th at National Cathedral in Washington. That will also be a national day of mourning. President-elect Trump has backed Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson in his bid to continue serving as Speaker of the House. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
As he presides over a razor-thin GOP majority that includes a number of outspoken skeptics, you might even call them dissidents, it's by no means a sure thing that the Speaker will hold on to the gavel. But the President-elect's endorsement could help. Donald Trump says on social media that Mike Johnson is, quote, a good, hard-working, religious man who will do the right thing. Trump urges House Republicans to, quote, not blow this great opportunity which we have been given.
President Biden announcing another $2.5 billion military aid package for Ukraine. Wall Street major indexes closed lower. The Dow slid 418 points. This is ABC News.
Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Nelson, board-certified, fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeon, and I want to restore your active, pain-free life. I've been an innovator in the treatment of knee pain caused by arthritis and sports injuries for 27 years. I'm the only surgeon in northern Utah to offer Omnibotics, a robotic-assisted knee replacement for your arthritic knee, which has a 97% patient satisfaction rate. Don't live with your knee pain another day. Visit drkeithnelsonortho.com. That's drkeithnelsonortho.com.
Dr. Nelson accepts most insurances, including select health plans.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Markets had a slide on the first day of another holiday-shortened week. The Dow lost 418 points. The S&P 500 dropped 64, and the Nasdaq was down 235 at the end of trading. Big Lots has reached a deal that will keep hundreds of its stores open. The discount chain said it will be sold to Gordon Brothers Retail Partners, a company which specializes in distressed companies. Big Lots filed for bankruptcy protection in September, saying inflation and high interest rates had cut back on consumer demand for its products. Consumers were choosy about where and how to spend their money in 2024 amid high housing costs and food prices. Higher-income Americans shopped at discount retailers like Walmart and Aldi. Diners opted for fast food or eating at home instead of sit-down restaurants. Consumer research company Coresight Research also says at least 22 restaurant chains, including Red Lobster and TGI Fridays, filed for bankruptcy. Chuck Severson, ABC News.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Your Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, we can work together to help ensure you're prepared for the future. After all, retirement isn't the end of the road, it's a new beginning. Call one of our 11 branch locations in Cache Valley or go to edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Safety and common sense are important as you celebrate the holiday with fireworks.
Always have water on hand. Make sure spectators keep a safe distance from fireworks. Use common sense and never relight a dud. Anybody under 16 should never handle aerials. And finally, alcohol and fireworks don't mix. If you like to celebrate with fireworks, come see us at Merrill Family Holiday Sales at 775 South Main in Logan by La Quinta. From our family to yours, have a happy holiday.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Thanks again to Mr. Bill Walter for stopping by the first half of the hour there. We went a little bit long, which is kind of funny. I should give him a hard time about this. We went to the news late, which was something that used to just irritate him all the time when I would go to the news too late. And then here he is making us go to the news late. Bill Walter, again, for those who maybe weren't tuned in the first half of the hour or heard his announcement on the morning show, we've known for a few months now, actually. Bill is entering a partial retirement type situation. So what that means is you're still going to hear him. He's not hanging up the Wild Bill hat. You still hear him on Kicks. You're also going to hear him in our production, commercials, PSAs, things like that. But he's going to step back a bit from the live radio here on KVNU and the news in order. He and his wife have some things they'd like to do, and they need a bit more time to do that. So not ready to fully retire, though he technically could, but entering a partial retirement. And so you'll still hear him around. You'll still hear his voice here and there, just not as regularly here on KVNU as you're probably used to. So just a couple more days that I get to send it to the news with Bill Walter. The one thing I've noticed about radio in the time that I've been here doing For the People since August of 2008 is very little stays the same for very long. Some things stay the same. For the People, for example, is entering. So in 2025, that will be the 19th year of For the People. It predates me by 2 years. I started in 2008. Tom Grover and Ryan Yonks pitched the show and actually turned the show into a hit starting in the summer of 2006. And it is so that stayed the same. Of course, you have the morning show, which predates, I think, everything here on KVNU. Though Al Lewis retired in June and moved on to golfing. That morning show with Craig Hislop and others, that will always be. So some things do stay the same, but the formats change. The way the show is timed and plays out changes. For the People has gone through five different iterations over the last 16 years, and some of it out of necessity. Some of it out of, just trying new things and saying, okay, this doesn't seem to be working anymore. Let's try this and let's try that. And then you see what's a hit with listeners. And, but yeah, that's the nature of radio. But the coolest thing about this is that it's not really different than any business that makes a product. Any business that makes a product is trying to constantly stay on top of what's working and what's not, what people like and dislike. So any business is going to do that. But what's unique about radio is it's happening real time. A laundry detergent manufacturer, they have the advantage of being able to, trial balloon in certain markets a new chemical mixture or a new label or a new name for the brand or something like that. And if it doesn't work, they just quietly pull it out of that limited market and nobody says anything. We don't have that luxury. Everything we experiment with here or change or it's happening, and everybody's, our product for conceptual purposes is going out live and everyone's hearing it. So speaking of which, I wanted to talk to Bill about this. I didn't want to keep him here his whole afternoon because at this point he's basically been here about 12 hours. But one thing I wanted to joke with him about are some of my hits and misses over the years, because we had a good time But yeah, I was driving through another market once, and here in Utah, and I heard on a morning show they did this thing, and it just sounded kind of cool, and so I wanted to try and create our own version of it here, and basically it was just sort of like a potpourri of headlines, science and entertainment and everything but politics, basically. And it was just kind of done in this laid back style with some actual canned, elevator music playing quietly in the background. And I really liked it. I like how it sounded. And I did it, the start of every show for about, and Bill would help me out, bouncing headlines back and forth. And did that for about a month and a half. And then we started to hear from a few listeners of like, oh, you got it. That I'm going to crash my car. You're putting me to sleep. And then there were a few comments made from, folks around here, the other stations that, hey, that one segment, and just really nice stuff, but just little comments that, it might not work for afternoon. And then finally a consultant came in, and the consultant was very blunt. Consultant said, kill that segment. I thought it was great. But to each their own, right? But that's one of the fun things about talking with people like Bill Walter and Al Lewis before he retired, and Craig Hislop as well. They've been doing it so long, they've got some funny stories. But to really kind of drive the point home of what fascinates me about this, being able to interview behind the scenes, if you will, bring someone behind the scenes in as a guest, like we just did with Bill Walter, is that radio is so tied to. This is the way I like to put it. Radio is this thing that everyone kind of forgets because it's sometimes on in the background, or sometimes it's just there while you're driving, or it just and it gets taken for granted and kind of forgotten until something happens. And when something happens and people can't find it and podcasts aren't good for this, right? You can't get breaking news of that day on a podcast. And the television news, though they'll cover it, you're not going to see it till 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and you're going to see it once for about a minute, and that's it. Whereas on radio, they have the opportunity, and we've done this before. In fact, I remember a night when there was some really bad flooding in Providence, and Eric and his team at Full Court Press, when they used to follow us here on KVNU every night at 6, they shut Full Court Press down, and they did their full hour, and even, I think, went into the next programming block a little bit to cover that live as it happened, because people wanted to know where's the flooding happening next, and what streets are being closed, and where can we get sandbags, and that is so unique to radio. Television can do it, but they don't. Cable news used to do it, but they don't, and radio has always done it. And so, people like Bill, again, Al Lewis, who left us into retirement earlier this year, they've covered a lot, walking encyclopedias of both the technology of broadcast and communication, but also the events that happened in those decades. So fun conversation. There's some great books about this, by the way. If you're curious, I'll link to a couple of them on our Facebook page. Radio and history and current events and the news and all of that. Permanently tied together because we're live. We'll be back right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Nestled in the heart of breathtaking landscape, Maple Creek Ranch on the north end of Cache Valley is more than just land. It's where your story begins. It's the perfect location for building your dream home. But only a few lots remain, so act now to claim your piece of paradise. Imagine mornings with breathtaking views, evenings by the fire, and every moment surrounded by the peaceful charm of nature. With stunning views, babbling brooks, and miles of wilderness. Google Maple Creek Ranch to learn more about these final few lots.
It's that time of year. Time to gear up for winter adventure in beautiful Bear Lake. Whether it's the thrill of snowmobile rides or the tranquility of cross-country skiing, Bear Lake has something for everyone. Go to bearlake.org and click Hot Deals to find cabin and condo rentals. Explore dining options and see what events are happening around Bear Lake. Bring family, bring friends, enjoy a night or two by the fire. playing games and watching movies. Make a plan and find deals on lodging and rentals at bearlake.org.
There's a place to share gossip about the office party fun, and a place to share the story you tell everyone. There's a place to share a laugh about when things went wrong, and a place to share the video of you dancing to your song. There's a place to share spare change, lunch, and your time. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. Is it the realities of governing or lowering expectations? Hear how President-elect Trump is tweaking his broad campaign rhetoric. Also, with pandemic aid spent and higher prices hanging around, America's riskiest borrowers are seeing credit scores wobble. And how to create and manage New Year's money resolutions. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. That's it for hour one, but you're going to want to stick around. Coming up in hour two, everyone understandably talking all things Jimmy Carter today with the announcement of his death at 100 years old. That announcement coming yesterday. A lot of things, a lot of angles you could pick to talk Jimmy Carter, and I'm going to try and do them all. But one that I'm going to include that, as far as I've seen, surprisingly hasn't gotten a lot of discussion in most circles. His book, Peace Not Apartheid, it was published in the latter years of his life, just a few years ago, a little over a decade ago. It is a well-intended and actually very smart read if you're looking for one about what we're seeing in the news now with what's going on in Israel and Palestine. It was controversial, and it all came down to one sentence that Carter later said was one of the stupidest, this is a quote, one of the stupidest things I've ever written. We'll talk about what led to this controversy. Also, lists in hour two. I'm going to try and get so many in before the end of tomorrow night's show. But scientific wins from mapping the fly's brain to a city that was discovered by ancient city, discovered by accident. And the accident itself is the story. We'll get to it all in hour two of today's show here on KVNU Logan.